Well, hello there, and welcome to my kitchen table. A place in most homes where we can sit and talk for hours with family and friends, putting the world to rights, as my dad would say. This story takes place in the amazing city of Liverpool, which is in the northwest of England in the UK, just in case you didn't know. It's famous for making incredible music. Yes, would you believe the Beatles are not the only group to actually come from here? It's also famous for the beautiful Liver building, which is one of the three main buildings which we call our three graces that stand on the waterfront. The Liver building has the 18-foot or 5.5 metre liver birds standing on the top. They are Bella and Bertie. Bella faces the sea in order to welcome visitors and, of course, those coming home, while Bertie looks over the city and keeps an eye on us Scousers. Oh, and the other residents as well, of course. So, take a seat whilst I tell you a heartbreaking story. She hurts your ears because she never stops talking. That's what I miss the most, because I can't hear her talk. Those were the heartbreaking words of Cheryl Korbel as she appeared before media for the first time since her 9-year-old daughter, Olivia, was gunned down in her own home. Choking on her tears and her right hand heavily bandaged from her own gunshot wound, Cheryl paid tribute to her little shadow, who left a mark on everyone she met. The mum of three urged those responsible for her youngest daughter's murder to come forward. What came next sparked the largest manhunt the city of Liverpool has ever seen. At around 10 p.m. on August 22nd, 2022, Cheryl Korbel heard a disturbance outside her family home in Kingsheath Avenue, Dovecot, Liverpool, and opened the front door just to see what was going on. Olivia was behind her mum at the bottom of the stairs after being woken up from the same disturbance. Joseph Nee, who was known as a rat in the drug community, as he had no boundaries. He was 35 years old at the time and a well-established, organised crime group member. He was one of two gunmen fleeing from an unknown gunman. At one point, it's believed that he had fallen and the shooter, we now know to be Thomas Cashman, stood over him and aimed, and the gun jammed. You couldn't make this shit up. Nee managed to get away and ran into Kingsheath Avenue. Nee then attempted to force himself into the Pratt-Korbel household. Cheryl fought strongly to get the door shut in order to protect their family. While Nee was forcing his way in, the gunman, who was wearing a balaclava and black jacket, approached the house and fired. Cashman wasn't giving up. He charged at the door. Olivia called to her mummy saying, "Mum, I'm scared." Cashman was close enough to hear this, but he didn't care. He put his gun through the door jamb and fired again. A few minutes later, knowing that the gunman had now left, Nee staggered out into the road and escaped in an associate's car. He was taken to Wiston Hospital initially, but then he was transferred to Aintree to receive treatment for a gunshot wound. Cheryl had been shot in the wrist and turned to Olivia. Seeing she had blood on her pyjamas, initially Cheryl thought it was her blood until Olivia started struggling to breathe. Cheryl lifted up her top and saw that she'd been shot in the chest. The bullet that hit Cheryl had gone through her wrist and into Olivia. Cheryl's other children were in the house upstairs during the attack. Cheryl and her son applied pressure in an attempt to stop the bleeding. Then a neighbour came and started CPR. A police officer at the scene carried Olivia and ran with her to the ambulance. Olivia was declared dead at 11:24 p.m. on the 22nd of August 2022 at Alder Hey Children's Hospital, Liverpool. That's the same hospital where 11-year-old Rhys Jones had died exactly 15 years earlier after being shot. That was the 22nd of August 2007. Even more heartbreaking than this was, sadly, as Cheryl needed treatment on her wrist, she wasn't with her baby girl when she passed away. She said in her impact statement during the trial, and I quote, "My worst nightmare was being separated from Liv and not being with her when she needed me the most. I was the first person to hold my baby girl, and as her mum, I should have been the last." Merseyside police understood that there was no trace of the gunman, although information about him soon came to light. Thomas Cashman, known as Tommy, is a 34-year-old father of two who lived with his long-term girlfriend and his children in a large house at The Point, which is an exclusive housing estate in West Derby, Liverpool. It was thought that Cashman may have been hired to kill Nee, although Nee and Cashman are saying nothing. Cashman grew up in Liverpool with four siblings. He left school at the age of 13 and ran off to work in a fairground in Wales. He then returned to Liverpool to become a drug dealer. His career choices left a lot to be desired, I must say. He sold cannabis on a small scale. His cannabis dealings increased as time went on, and at the time of his arrest, he was earning between £3,000 and £5,000 a week. Obviously, selling large quantities. He had 18 previous convictions for 33 offences. The police recovered CCTV footage showing Cashman walking up and down the road, waiting for Joseph Nee to appear. He was also seen with his vehicle, again, waiting for Nee to appear. He discovered which property Nee was in, so went and changed his clothes, picked up his guns, and headed off to kill Nee. That's like me saying, "Oh, I'm going shopping, so I'll head off home and pick up my bags for life and head off to Asda." Like it's an everyday occurrence. They live in another world. When he was arrested, Cashman claimed he had nothing to do with it and it was all a frame-up. Although he'd been apprehended after a tip-off from a former sexual partner who lived nearby, and he'd visited shortly after the murder. She recounted that he arrived in a panicked state and was asking for a change of clothes. When she originally came forward to the police, they arrested her under the suspicion of aiding and abetting an offender. But then they realised, obviously, that she held crucial information and was willingly cooperating. There was independent evidence to corroborate her account as well, as the clothes that she said that she gave to Cashman were actually recovered at his sister's house. with his DNA on them and gunshot residue on the leg of the tracksuit bottoms. The woman also recounted overhearing Cashman saying something along the lines of, "I've done Joey," to Paul Russell, her partner. She was awarded lifelong anonymity for her evidence, so she was put into the witness protection programme, which was well deserved, after the defence tried ripping her apart during the trial. They tried labelling her as a woman scorned and said that she was only saying this because Cashman had refused to leave his girlfriend for her. But she told the court in no uncertain terms that that was definitely not the case because Cashman is a thug and he had a little willy. She also said there's no such thing as a grass when a 9-year-old child has been murdered. Well done, that woman. Whoever you are now, wherever you may be, best of luck to you, girl. Russell would later plead guilty, that's her partner, to assisting an offender because he drove Cashman away from the address and he disposed of a bag given to him by Cashman, which he believed contained clothes. Paul Russell told detectives that he was terrified of Cashman. He said that Cashman had a reputation and that people everywhere were scared of him. And that was while he was being interviewed in custody. As he was out on licence, this is Mr. Russell, and had been caught breaching conditions, he was returned straight to prison. Timescale of police events. During the late night of the 25th of August 2022, a 36-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of the murder of Olivia and 2 counts of attempted murder from his flat in Huyton, but he was released a few days later. On the 1st of September, Merseyside police released CCTV footage of the gunman. On the 4th of September, 1 man was arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, and 2 others detained on suspicion of assisting an offender. On the 7th of September, all suspects were bailed. On the 8th of September, another man was arrested. On the 9th of September, another one was arrested. But on the 29th of September, police arrested a 34-year-old man on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. And on the 30th of September, a man was arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. On the 1st of October, 34-year-old Thomas Cashman was charged with the murder of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Korbel and 2 counts of attempted murder, as well as 2 counts of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. 40-year-old Paul Russell was also charged with assisting an offender. The 2 men appeared at Liverpool Crown Court on the 3rd of October and were held on remand. On the 21st of December 2022, Thomas Cashman appeared at Liverpool Crown Court via a video link from His Majesty's Prison Manchester, and pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges. Cashman acknowledged that he'd been in the area on that day, but as a drug dealer. So I guess that makes it okay then. But he denied that he was the gunman. The attacker had fired 2 guns that night against Nee, and Cashman was found to have 2 guns at his address. Surprise, surprise. A 9mm self-loading pistol and a revolver. One of these guns was found by police to have been linked to 2 previous shootings in the area, one of which was a previous attempt to kill Nee. That was 2 weeks before Olivia's murder, and Cashman was already under suspicion for that one. The trial began at Manchester Crown Court on the 7th of March 2023 before Mrs. Justice Amanda Yip. On the 30th of March 2023, Thomas Cashman was found guilty of the murder of Olivia, along with the wounding of Olivia's mother and the attempted murder of the intended target, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Paul Russell pled guilty to assisting an offender in October 2022, but the media were unable to report on it until the conclusion of Cashman's case. On the 3rd of April 2023, sentencing Cashman, Justice Amanda Yip said, "The killing of Olivia Pratt-Korbel is an offence that shocked not only the city of Liverpool, but the nation. Olivia's name is likely to be remembered for many years, but she should not be remembered only for the dreadful last moments. Her family have spoken today of Olivia in life and of the hopes and dreams for her future, which were so cruelly snatched away." Thomas Cashman was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 42 years for Olivia's murder. So he must serve 42 years before he becomes eligible for parole. He was also sentenced to a second life sentence for the attempted murder of the intended target with a minimum term of 22 years. He was sentenced to 10 years for the wounding of Cheryl, Olivia's mother, and given 2 18-year sentences for possession of 2 firearms with intent to endanger life. Now, those of you that are quick at maths will now be saying, woohoo, or similar celebratory words. 110 years, and thinking, at last, a decent sentence given by a UK judge. Don't get too excited. All these sentences are to run concurrently. So basically, he gets 42 years for killing Olivia and forget the rest. The word concurrent should be stricken from all court dictionaries for cases like this and replaced with the word consecutive. Cashman refused to appear in court for his sentencing. How dare he? Who the hell does he think he is? He should have been dragged there, kicking and screaming. Paul Russell was sentenced to 22 months imprisonment. Cashman was 34 at the time of his sentencing, and he'll become eligible to be considered for parole in March 2064. At the time, he will be 76 years old. In late April 2023, it was reported that Cashman is to appeal to have his sentence reduced. Yeah, good luck with that, mate. In the weeks following the trial, the Attorney General had many requests from Olivia's family and members of the public to grant an appeal in order to increase the minimum sentence of 42 years and possibly make it a full life tariff, which is what we call it in England. That's life sentence with no parole. The Solicitor General, Michael Tomlinson, issued a statement saying no appeal will be granted under the unduly lenient sentence rule, as the case does not fit the required statutes. My thoughts were more on the lines, like I've said before, of making each of the sentences consecutive rather than concurrent, because that way you'll never get out. Olivia's family's world was torn apart on the evening of August 22nd, when a bullet, indiscriminately fired by a gunman, passed through the front door of their home on Kingsheath Avenue, Dovecot, Liverpool. Hit her mum in the hand and struck 9-year-old Olivia in the chest. The life of the 9-year-old, which has been thrust into the public eye for months, should not be defined by a handful of hate-filled, violent minutes. She should be remembered for who she was a caring, confident, funny, and strong willed little girl who'd packed a lot into her 9 years. Just days after her death, her family paid tribute to the unique, chatty, nosy little girl who broke the mould when she was born. Olivia, described by her family as 9 going on 19, loved life and all it had to offer. At Olivia's funeral, Cheryl remembered how her daughter knew exactly how to wrap people around her little finger just to get what she wanted, especially her brother Ryan and her sister Chloe. She'd often just give them a cheeky smile and they'd give in instantly. Olivia also had a very caring side. She loved animals, especially her dog Gizmo and her parrot Ollie. She'd often wrap Gizmo in a blanket and push them around the house in a pushchair. She also loved riding her new bike up and down the street with her friends. When Olivia was carried to her final resting place in a little white coffin decorated with pink butterflies, the streets were lined with thousands of mourners. Olivia's friends hung her name in big pink letters on the railings outside his school, St Margaret Mary's Catholic Junior School in Dovecot. The Archbishop of Liverpool, Malcolm McMahon, said Olivia will continue to live on in the hearts and memories of her friends and her family, and she will continue to live on in the hearts and memories of the people of Liverpool. To remember Olivia solely on the event of August 22nd would do the 9-year-old a disservice. It would mark her life as one of violence instead of one of love. Olivia loved and was loved by all who met her. He went on to say, but we must also remember the violence that was brought to her front door, it caused by the thoughtless actions of men who live in a world where disputes over money, pride, or territory are settled by deadly violence. Olivia, the little girl who told her mum that she was scared in her final moments, wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was exactly where she should have felt her safest, at home with her family. And at that point, I'm going to say, thank you so much for allowing me to tell you this story. And thank you so much for listening. And I'll see you next time. Although, well, I won't see you next time, but you know what I mean. Please tickle the like button if you found the story interesting. You can subscribe, it's free. And ring that bell. YouTube will tell you when my next story is posted. Okay? And a smile uses less muscles than a frown. So smile more, make less wrinkles. I've been Sue, TTFN.